Name is Michael Milligan, and I've been doing, I'll do the intro here, and then we'll turn it over to the star of the show, which is Michael Coleman, our senior implementation consultant with Acumatica, and also very experienced on Dynamics SL as well. I notice a lot of our registrants are Dynamics SL users currently, and I'll probably take that opportunity to kind of contrast, Dynamics SL to the newer cloud technology that we get with an ERP system like Acumatica, which is what Mike Coleman's going to use to demonstrate today. Now, and that doesn't mean that these concepts don't transfer to Dynamics SL. In many cases, they do. It just might require a third party or some customizations to do something with Dynamics SL that's built into Acumatica. And Cassidy Martin is our host for this meeting. She'll be. This meeting is recorded, by the way. So just don't say anything confidential about your company if you don't want it recorded, and we can always edit that out later too if we need to. But we appreciate you attending. And if you had any trouble with your Grubhub lunch, just Cassidy Martin's email address is on the screen. Go ahead and email her, and she'll get that straightened around. So we should be advancing the screen here. And this graphic broadly describes the accounts payable process, which I believe is one of the most maligned portions of the accounting department. I mean, the sales revenue generating portion, project costing portions, since they often generate revenue, they tend to be the stars of the show. But AP can have a tremendous impact on cash flow and immediate cash flow and cost savings, which can impact the bottom line much quicker than a new sales campaign or a new product launch could, with a lot less expense. So we'll talk about that as we move forward here. I always have trouble with these advancing these slides here. So to highlight what I mentioned a little bit earlier, cost savings in AP, any cost savings you make in AP fall immediately to the bottom line as increased profits. If you make a very minor impact in the AP process, saving, getting additional discounts, using a credit card to delay a payment and maybe get points or discounts off, that 2% cost savings falls right to the bottom line with no expenditure of cash, compared to say if the management says we got to increase sales because we need more profit and more revenue, they're going to spend money to create those new sales. They're going to have a new marketing campaign. They're going to have costs, and those sales are future revenue. They're 2 months off, 3 months off, really, before you might get paid for those and recognize that cash. Where if we make improvements in the AP process today, those cost benefits fall right to the bottom line immediately. And you can do those cost process savings through efficiencies, by handling more AP processes or AP transactions with fewer people, which is what is possible to do with the modern AP tools, and then put those AP people into other profitable cost savings portions of the business, to help them collect AR or to do new bank reconciliations, new banking relationships, work more with vendors on discounts and better terms that will help the business and will again be cost savings and in the end increase more profits. So AP is a very important department, and that's why we're spending time on it here today. So what you need to do some of these things like is improve technology. And a package like Dynamics SL just got in this latest version, this SL 2018 version, an AP workflow process so that you can do approvals. You can send a voucher to a project manager for approval or a department level manager for a budget type approval, or maybe just for a large amount. Any invoice over $10,000 needs the VP of operations to approve it. That kind of workflow was just added just for the AP process in the last version of SL. But universal workflow engine is standard in Acumatica. So I can do it not only on AP processes, but I can do it on adding a new inventory item, adding a new chart of accounts, certain expenses that need additional documentation get flagged. Those kind of workflows, alerts, and notices, approval processes are throughout the Acumatica product. Dashboards is also a very important part. If we can give an accounts payable manager an easy dashboard that shows, here's the vouchers I have to process, here's the checks that need to be cut in the next week, that visualization makes that accounting payable person more effective. And that's something we can do with the dashboards that are built into the Acumatica. Something absolutely exciting is paperless. Acumatica has a built-in paperless process for accounts payable. So we can send an email, a vendor can send an email of their invoice to ap@yourcompany.com, and then the Acumatica system grabs that invoice, routes it for approval using that workflow that we just talked about, codes it into the AP process, and requires any extra signatures and that type of thing, and actually can process it all the way through, create the check, send an email with the stub to the vendor, and deposit that money in their account, all paperless and very touched very infrequently, maybe not at all. Web services and integrations is just fantastic with the newer technology products, so that we can have integrations with our corporate credit cards, business credit cards, as well as bank integrations, so we can do our cash reconciliation to the day. We can see what checks cleared the night before, have that pop up as a simple report or dashboard to make us more integrated without the manual processes. And then effective use of requisitions and purchase orders, a classic method of controlling costs and ensuring that employees within your company are following your purchasing guidelines, buying from the vendors you want them to buy from, and that gives you a chance to really regulate costs and keep your costs down by negotiating with those vendors. And this whole process of using this new technology is what Accunet and Acumatica call digital transformation. So we're just taking you from the old style analog, manual type process into a more integrated web-based, connected business that really is more efficient and more bulletproof because it is over the web. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And Mike Coleman, you'll be up on this next screen. You can grab right after I hit this screen. But what is so important about the new technology is that it is device independent. So I can use a new package like Acumatica from my smartphone, from a small Chrome tablet, from a Macintosh, any browser device. They're even starting to play around with alerts going to smartwatches and using Siri and other, Amazon type devices to actually talk to Acumatica. Say like, give me my flash report that shows me, the key factors for my business. So you can actually command the system to run certain reports, give you certain alerts, certain dashboards, and take certain actions. So back again, I mean, AP is the unsung hero of cash management. And when the company is in a crunch and they, oftentimes business managers know, hey, cash is going to be tight for the next 60 days. The AP department is the one that can really make the biggest impact. And with improved tools, you can do it more efficiently and more cost effectively. And that's what Michael Coleman's going to talk about today. Mike, you want to go ahead and take over the screen? All right. So, Mike Coleman has got put together 5 or 6 cases that he's going to go through and take us through those processes.
Good morning, everybody. Can you please unmute everybody, Cassidy? All right, great. Thank you. Part of everyone being unmuted is, as we go through this, please feel free to ask any questions that you might have, or ask to see something that you want to see in greater detail. If I say something that bothers you or you want to know more about, please just let me know. Mike was talking about dashboards as we started, and this is a particular dashboard that comes up that's available in the package. There are a variety of dashboards, and we will be taking a look at a few of them. This is a sales dashboard that has a lot to do with opportunities and sales orders and how things are flowing through the company. This particular sales order, like most dashboards, can be customized to do whatever you want. And we, not whatever you want, but whatever is available in the system. And we will do that during this demonstration. This particular dashboard can be cut down to just looking at the entire organization or customer. But that gives you the opportunity to really be able to take hard looks at members of your organization and flows through work processes that you might have. What I'm going to try to do to start with is give you a kind of an idea of the things that are going on in Acumatica and how things have been changing and how things are changing right now. We have a new version that came out a month ago, and we have another new version that's going to be available in about 6 months. So the first thing we're going to look at is accounts payable. This particular invoice is going to 2 separate companies. When you have companies that have the same calendar year, chart of accounts, and currencies, you are able to combine them in what's called the branch structure. And they still report separately, but you can also report them in consolidation. This particular bill is for 2 separate companies. And if we take a look at the register, you can see where the accounts payable is, where the expenses are for each company, and the due to and due from are right here, established in the same transaction. It's kind of nice. It allows a little more flexibility and a lot more consolidation of controls. This particular transaction is in administrative accounts, so it's not really looked at as approval processes. But as you can see, we do have an approval map here. And if we want to take a look at how approvals are set up, we can show the different types of approval. So in this organization, they have approvals set up by departments and by vendors and by dollar amounts. They even have set up a specific approval for subcontractors. So this would be someone who's going to look at subcontractors and make sure they have all of their W-9 information in, which is apropos for this time of year. So let's take a look at the first rule. This is for consulting expenses. So any consulting, any sub account that uses this term is going to go to this person to be approved. And the same in the sales and marketing operations. And now this one's going to be any project that's set up is going to go to the project manager. It's not completely set up. I'm sorry about that. And if we look here, we can see where there's one for anything over $1,000. Now we can also add another line to this. Say AP documents amount is less than or equal to $10,000. And we've just changed that rule. And then we can add another rule to say anything over $10,000. So if we delete this rule and add another rule for over $10,000, this document would have to be signed, it would have to be approved twice.
Hey, Mike, the point I want to make there is there's really no programming there. It's configuration, it's rules based, it's point and click. You're not having to code any of that.
No, that's what we'll see that a lot as we go through these forms. But it's mainly based on setup. So if you want to set something up, you can, and you have permission, you can go in and change a lot of the rulings that are here, like hold documents on entry. I'm not a real big fan of that. I also would like them to post automatically. So I would change that rule also. 1099 settings are pretty much the same as we're doing now, but what accounts they go to are useful to us. And like most systems that you used, I've used in the past, we used vendor classes. So vendor classes allow you to set generic accounts, sub-accounts, any different attributes that you want to use, or any different mailing settings. So if you want purchase orders or accounts payable ACH receipts to go to one specific place, you can designate that in this particular screen. Are there any questions about that or any concerns? Okay. So one of the nicer things about accounts payables, we do have the ability to use AP amounts for projects. So in this particular project I'm going to do, I want to use where is it? Mirador. I'm going to add a line. See how how field populations are drawn up by when you start typing? That allows a little bit more speed and agility as you go through the process. Now, in this particular project, we don't have any budget for this. And we're going to get a warning that tells us that. So that's kind of a way to help you, an accounting clerk, or even a project manager to know. It's when I take this off, it's going to need approval. And that approval is going to tell the person who's approving it that they don't have a budget for this. And that might be fine, but this is only a warning. So changes can be made at this level before it's approved. One of the nice things about this system and the flexibility that it offers is that pages can be arranged however you so desire. All of the fields here are able to be added or subtracted. Sorry, here, this is taking a minute. And that is the case in most fields, in most screens, I'm sorry. And most tabs also can be, we can add or subtract lines as you need. So in our particular case, we're not going to do discounts. And we're not going to use deferrals. So we can take those out. And those have changed what you see in the line. So that gives you a little more flexibility in how you do things and how you have to look at them. There's another view here, much like in other programs. If you hit this, you get a much more concise view. Mike was talking about the ability to add files or PDFs to a particular document. And this is pretty easy to do here. Oops, what did I do? Oops, yeah, it doesn't like that. You got to put reference numbers in. They can be added a variety of ways. We're going to look at a couple of those today. So when this document goes to be approved, the invoice will be right here with it. There are a couple places on here that we can add notes. If we so desire, we can add notes to this invoice right here. We can add files to this invoice if there are any particular activities that we want to add. So if we here with it, there are a couple places on here that we can add notes. If we so desire, we can add notes to this invoice right here. We can add files to this invoice if there are any particular activities that we want to add. So if we want to say certain people have to check this, or I talked to Charlie about this and this is what he said, or whether or not there was a phone call, we can add those kind of documentation, that kind of documentation to this. We can also add an event. So when this is paid, we say the approver wants to know that $9,000 is coming out of his checking account. He wants to know that right now. So we can add a business event, which is a query that goes out and says, when Ameridor goes to accounts payable, send a notice to Mike that the check's going out the door. Just a little more flexibility in the things that we can do. One of the things that we've added here recently to the Acumatica system is there are some vendors and customers, as you know, who require special handling, and they might need to be notified of that. So we've added a pop-up note. So anytime this vendor is going to be used, this note will pop up. We'll come here and bills and adjustment. Oops, cancel. Let's save. You get a little note. which is helpful. It's not, you don't need it for everybody, but there are the ones you do need it for, you really need it for. There's another module that is available with this system that is deferrals. And that means that we cannot take in a bill and automatically start a deferral schedule for it. So say you have to pay your insurance quarterly, you can make the deferral schedule automatically calculate the deferral dates and what accounts it's going to hit. That's done. That's another module, but it's very useful for organizations that have a lot of deferrals. In the meantime, if you don't have a lot of deferrals, we have an allocation system that you can run instead. So that's useful for that. The things that we've been talking about are available on most screens, these notes, activities, files, and you can even do those per line. One of the nicer things that Acumatica has also done is done field-sensitive help. So if you open the help menu, it will automatically come to this screen and tell you what you want to do. You can look at this, this conceptual or process. These processes are Acumatica's processes. They can be changed to your processes. The flexibility of the wiki, it's called a wiki, of course, to allow you to make changes to it. And it allows you to put organizational concepts in it. And there is also a forms reference. So when this comes up, it's going to bring up line by line, explaining what everything is. Come on, you. So, and this tells you what the buttons are, what the fields are, and the consequences.
So this is basically putting your business processes and your, your SOPs right into the ERP system.
Yeah, that's on the other screen. Yep. Yep. So that allows that to happen and gives you a little flexibility in how you see that. Bills and adjustments. So if we go down to take a look at the controller screen, this is another dashboard. And in this dashboard, it's information that pertains to the controller and what is interested in what his interests are. Have you ever used any of these any of these kinds of dashboards? Does anyone have them on their systems now? Are you using Power BI or? Okay.
Yeah, my experience, Mike, is everybody wants to do it, but very few people have implemented it.
Okay. Okay. So Joy says that they have not used it. Well, I understand that. They can take a lot of work, but they don't have to. So in this particular one, the controller doesn't have an approval widget. So I'm going to add one. So I want it to be a scorecard. I want it to go there. I want it to look at approval screens. So this is a generic inquiry. If any of you have used a quick query or used a query device or a query system, it's basically the same thing. And my query is called approvals. And I only want to see my approvals. I want it to check every 5 minutes. I want it to count all. I'm just going to use approval ID. And let's make 2 the alarm level. That's the picture we'll use, and we'll call it approvals. So so I know that I have 4 approvals outstanding. Now this doesn't limit it to AP approvals. There might be time card approvals that I might have, or I might have someone trying to do a chart of accounts change, and I can make that an approval process that comes through here. Inventory items that need to be added can also come through here. So that allows us to set that up that way. Show a payment process. So in the system now, the payment process is pretty much what you're used to. Preparing the payments. And the ways that we have to pay people are by cash, check, wire, ACH, and credit card. So we can easily take any of these payment types. We're going to take check. And this is the checking account that we use. And we can process them. I think some of you have used systems that have come with PDF writers as the check writer, and that's what this system does. Check formats, of course, are changeable. They can be stub check, stub, whatever you might need. So that allows a little flexibility and gives you the ability to do what you need to do. Also, what we'll find is that we can, let me process this. So we come here and we prepare payments. Oops, sorry. When we prepare payments, we can also decide that we're going to do Fed wires, which is ACH. Create one there, process. Process all. Now, when we create this and take this off hold, this batch payment system is going to send an email to the AP contact telling them that their check is going to be deposited tomorrow and for what invoice numbers it's going to create payments for. So when we do this, this is all part of the system. This comes with Acumatica. It creates the ACH payment.
That is really slick, Mike. And for those of you using Dynamics SL, we're adding a package called PDF Explode to do this process that Mike just showed. That's built into Acumatica, but you got to get an add-on to do that in SL. And I think, it depends on how many people are processing AP, but it's a couple $1,000s, which is nice to be able to add it, but it's built into Acumatica.
We also, also what happens is when you're paying on credit cards, you can also get the credit card statement, and where are we going here? We would import the credit card transactions daily, and you can set up corporate cards as many as you need, and the payment processes or the card usage could come across as needed. Now, people can claim credit card usage on their expense reports, depending on how your company is set up. They don't have to use they don't have to actually use their card. If they use a company card, you can verify against the payment processing log that the information is there. But I think we have one card set up. Oh, 2 cards. Home Depot. That's what I need. A Home Depot card. And then who has access to the card and who's using it. So you know who to track down if they haven't supplied you with the receipts. And nobody ever doesn't submit receipts. So you can also accept payments for credit cards on the receivable side if you need it. It allows a little more flexibility in who your system processor is and who does the reconciliation. Let's see here. Now, as we create payments, or I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong screen here. As we prepare payments, we have a way to select how you want to pay. Pay dates within a certain time period, whether you want to pay a specific vendor, whether you want to pay only discounts, and it changes the way the system looks and what it'll bring up. If I take everybody off, I think it brings up a few more. Yeah, brings up a few more payments. It also shows you the debit and credit adjustments so that you can add them to the proper vendor. There are some things that go on where you tell the system how a vendor wants to be treated. So if we take a look at how we set up a vendor, we can say how we want to pay them separately or we want to pay them by line, and how we're going to set up what checking account they get paid from and what system we use for them. So let's see here. How are the invoices entered into the database for review approval, Joy? So we set those up by putting them in. And they meet certain criteria. Would your approvers have PO approval, or would they just be approving the invoice, the bill? You can take yourself off hold if you want.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can, ma'am.
Okay. I wasn't sure if invoices come in, like if the software, if the vendor downloads their invoice, because then I typically send invoices to project managers for review and approval, or if coding data is missing from the purchase order. I didn't know if there's going to be capability of forwarding an actual image of the invoice for them to approve.
Oh, yeah. There are a couple ways of doing that. So on the purchase order, when they hit the receipt, so they create a purchase order, they receive the product. Is it more of a three-way match? Then the invoice comes in and you're matching it against the purchase order?
Right. The invoice comes in and I match it against the purchase order that either the project manager gave me or that the site guy sent me.
Okay.
So then I do a comparison of quantity and item. But there's cases it has to go to the project manager for review. And they like to see the visual invoice.
So that's a couple different things we can do. We can create the bill, and he can approve, as we saw here. He can approve the invoice and have a picture of the invoice already here, and he can look at it first. Look at it while he's approving it.
Okay. So how does that invoice get downloaded to the file tab?
There are a couple ways. If you get them into your email, if you put if you send them to like AP, we can set up an email AP at, and all of those would be coming through a document management system, which we're going to go through next.
Okay, because some vendors email one invoice at a time, and other vendors send a batch at a time.
Okay, great. So that allows you to break them down a little further. So when I get an email, sorry about how busy this is, but so when I get an invoice, what happens is I have it set up in the system that this person is associated with this company, and these are the things that I can do with this invoice or with their email, truthfully, their email. What we have an issue with is we can create an AP document. We can look at this person. We can log activity that we've talked to this person, that they've sent us an email. We also use this with customers. If a customer is having a problem, we can create a case. And when we create a case, that allows us as consultants to know that there's something out there that we need to look at. And the sales guys also have opportunities to make further sales. So this invoice is coming across in a PDF format, and I can create a AP bill. So this might take a little time. One of the things that happens with this system is that we use artificial intelligence. And as we are using artificial intelligence, it means that these opportunities have to be learned by the system. And it takes a little time to get them into the system, and that's why a lot of people are talking about using the AP at email. So if they send them there, it can operate in total, not total, but in
the background.
Inclusion, yes. You don't have to touch it. And the thing about that is, you're not limited by the number of users. So if you have a user, it's no big deal. So we come here, and where is it? Here it is. So this is the invoice that just came in. And I want to, and it's not recognizing some things. So I want to recognize things. So I'm going to send it out. It's going to recognize the vendor and the amount and some of the details. But the more the system doesn't recognize it, the more things that you have to teach it. And as you teach it, it will recognize them in the future. So when you get a bill for the first time, it's going to take a little bit of time. I think this takes 3 to 4 minutes to recognize this bill. But what happens is the bill comes in, and my email or the AP, and then it gets set up here, and it automatically recognizes. So that gives you the flexibility to come in, and the document can be on a variety of statuses. If it's met all the criteria, it will go on approval hold, pending approval. If there is no approval, it'll show up in a balanced format. And on the balance, it's waiting for someone to do something. So this, I have to teach it a little bit, it looks like. So the transaction description is there. Standard cost is there. But this is how the system is set up and learns these things. We can save and continue. And it'll bring us here, in this particular bill is pending approval. So in this particular case, the file is attached here. And we can look at it. There are no projects or PO numbers attached to it, so we wouldn't necessarily pull that up. Well, sorry, I gotta get rid of some stuff. I have too much stuff open. All right, there we go. In this particular case, I can approve things, so I'm just going to approve it. And I think I have approval. Oh, I must not have approval with this user. So that gives us, so that pulls out and says that we, well, that's the help screen, sorry. Hopefully this will say, because I'm not the approver on this account, on this particular document. Who is? Oh, I don't know who the approver is. I would have to find the approver, but their dashboard is going to be reflective and tell them that they have a document to approve. So, from the recognition screen, we can also, so someone comes in and hands you a document that needs recognized, that needs input. You can scan, they can scan it to you and send it to you, and you can look at it here. Once again, this is one that needs to be taught. But once it's taught, well, yeah, once it's taught, the process will be much smoother.
So in summary, we can take invoices that are emailed to a person. We can take invoices that are imported or emailed to an AP at my company account. And we can also get a physical invoice and scan it in and kick it into the process as well.
Yes, that's right.
And this artificial intelligence is that Mike's talking about. I mean, it is it's just a learning process. So once the system sees a certain invoice format and recognizes that, you know, this is where I find the invoice number, this is where the amounts are. Once it gets it once, it's got it. That's the great thing about computers. You teach them once and then they'll do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah. So the whole purchase order process is the same way. So from purchase orders, we have the whole approval settings, how we want to set up a normal purchase order, what map we want to use, whether we're going to use a group approval process or whether or not the approval process will be a single person. Then we also have timing. So one of the things that this allows you to do is to give someone 24 hours. If there is no response, it kicks it to the next level or to the next person. So you're not necessarily sitting on the bill or the purchase order. Are there any questions about the approval process or ways that document recognition works? Okay. All right.
You know, while people are thinking about that, you know, went through the document management process with Dynamics SL customers a couple of times, and there are several packages out there, but they're all very, very expensive. There's one called DocLink, which runs about $25,000 a year for the AP process, and usually about $25,000 to train and set up. Acumatica is a tenth of that price for the AP process. So it is dramatically less expensive and comes with the system. So just having that built in is a huge cost saver. And as you're processing AP documents, one of the things I hear from people is, well, I only have one AP person. If they aren't fully loaded and I don't have to hire another AP person, why should I buy something that takes some of that work off that person? But you can always use those people to do other things, negotiate better vendor contracts, help with compliance and paperwork and budget controls and cost controls, put that AP person working on higher end, more value add processes rather than pounding in vouchers. But once you go over one AP person, I have one of my customers has 10 people in the AP department, and that's a significant cost. If we can put in this document management system with OCR and routing and approval processes and cut their AP people, from 10 to 8 and put those other 2 people back on more value-added processes, we've saved that company $125,000 a year in payroll costs that they can reallocate to better uses. So it can be just a tremendous thing, and it's the way businesses are going. I think I highly encourage everybody to take a look at this powerful feature. Thanks, Mike.
So one of the things that we're also able to do is expense reporting, much like you see in other programs right now. We are able to come and put expense reports into the system. Now remember, this is a SaaS system. This environment is computer based. So there's a phone hookup that you can use to do receipts, to take pictures of your receipts, and to do your claims. You can also look at time cards or get notifications on the phone module. Phone module, or you can also use a tablet. I like the tablet better because I can see it.
Yeah, Mike, when you say phone module, you're talking about the employee's smartphone.
Yeah, so the employees, if they have an app, which is available for free on Amazon and for Google and for Apple. It's something that we could set up and train people on how to do their expense reports if they're in the field, and how to do approvals. We have one customer who looks up project addresses because they do so many smaller projects that those appear on their phone for them. And then it's really easy to use a Google Maps or a Waze to get there. All right. Are there any questions or comments or concerns? Would you like to see something in more detail, or? Well, Mr. Milligan, it's back to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you taking the time to show that to everybody. You should see a thank you up on the screen right now. We did record this session. It'll be up on our website. We will spend time with you to analyze your AP process and see where we can actually do cost savings for you. So I would encourage you to contact me. My contact information, phone number's up on the screen. And we can set up a time to review your AP process. And there's just a lot of ways you can attack the AP process through requisitions, purchase order control, budget control, signature control, project manager approval, even things like, how we use credit cards to get points or discounts, bank reconciliation to better monitor cash, positive pay to control the payments, EFT to send those electronically. We can just attack this from a bunch of different ways and improve your AP process, and then those savings fall directly to the bottom line with better cash flow and better profitability. So we're here to help. We'd love to spend some time with you and see how we can improve your process. And it's incremental improvement. Maybe we just make one small improvement this year, and then next year we tweak it again. So we'd love to talk to you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up and let everybody go in case there's any other questions. Anybody else wants to jump on? Okay. All right, everybody, I appreciate it. We'll go ahead and close it out.